You see, little bit of the history. While we were implementing the watershed program, which is Government of India, Ministry of Rural Development, we found that most of the springs in the villages were drying up. So we decided to, find a solution to addressing the rejuvenation of springs. Then we started exploring to find out who are the actual players for rejuvenation of springs. And we found that it is the People Science Institute in Dehradun, then the Aquadam, Pune, RGM, all these were major players in terms of rejuvenation of springs as well as groundwater. So we were able to connect with them, and we started the first workshop in the year 2015. And since then, we have been trying to build the capacity of our officers and staffs, because that's the first most important thing, to acquire the intellectual knowledge, the resources, and the PSI and Aquadam, they were willing to give us freely. So we are so grateful to them. And today we have 33 para geohydrologists, and also 11 officers have been trained. And even at the SLNA, we call State Level Nodal Agency, we have also been able to undertake inventorization of springs in the inhabited areas, in the villages. More than 2,300 springs have been already, we have done the inventorization. There's still overall minimum, we have around 3,541 micro watersheds. So even if you just take an average of 10 springs, mini watershed, micro watershed, it would be 35,000, 541 springs.
Right. All these 2,300 inventories that you have created of springs, are these all mapped on Google Maps, or what the?
Yes.
They're
all
mapped,
mapped, all on Google, all of them. It's already mapped, and we also have the quality is one aspect.
Water.
Quality of water is also one aspect, and the location, the physical aspect, that is also, it's all mapped. It's all locations are all geo-mapped.
Roughly what percentage of Nagaland's population would be depending on springs to meet its water needs?
About 70% of the people still lives in the rural areas. So definitely that population, villages are also located in and around springs only. So they are definitely dependent on springs. Only over the last few years, because of the government policy to augment water supply, so they have got the water supply through PHE department, pipe water supply. But that has also become a challenge, because we are basically Jumias. We do shifting cultivation. One, another is logging. These are two areas where it has really degraded the forest cover. Government has just 10% of the total geographical area which is under.
Most of the
most
forests
are all private owned. Community, but it's private.
Okay.
But, yeah.
So that's not really owned by the government.
No, it's not owned by the government. One good thing is there are different practices, agricultural practices, different from different districts. Like Kohima, they don't do chuming; they have settled farming.
Okay.
So most of the forests here will be preserved. But in some other districts where chuming is still in practice,
Right.
chuming is actually for survival, for livelihood. So it's also very difficult unless you give them an alternate livelihood. It is very difficult to ask them not to cultivate for their own survival.
Do you see climate change as a major risk factor for water security in Nagaland?
Definitely. Actually, climate change, though, it is already happening, even in Nagaland also. Because even the rainfall, the precipitation has, over the years, it has been changed, actually. So, sometimes when there is rainfall, the intensity is very high, but it is, for a very short period.
Right.
But of course, last year in 2018, we had a very heavy spell of rainfall where major devastation took place. A lot of landslide, and some of the districts were completely cut off. And that is also because there has been deforestation, there has been logging, there has been June. So most of the natural forests were almost gone. Because of that also it accelerated the
Can you tell us how important are springs as far as meeting water needs of people in Meghalaya is concerned?
There are around 60,000 springs in Meghalaya itself, and around 68% of the population depends on these springs for basic household activities and irrigation. So that's a huge number, 68%, and 54% of these villages directly depend on these springs for drinking purposes. So again, these springs are a huge source of the main source of water for their activities and for the drinking purposes. So yes, and a survey that was done by this Meghalaya Institute of Natural Resources, where they have sampled 714 springs, and out of these springs they found out that 54% of these springs have reduced their discharge by up to 50%.
Currently being inventorized springs, we have under the project, as he mentioned, under the NAPCC project that the state has received, we have targeted 300 spring sheds which will be intervened so that the flow and the impairment can be addressed.
Okay.
So this is basically done through structural measures and non-structural measures which are included in that project. And besides that, it also is very crucial to address the awareness and build the capacity on the ground itself, because after the project is for 4 years. So after the project ends, the society and the villages will be the stakeholders. They have to take it forward and ensure that it doesn't end there.
Are there any springs where you've seen that after intervention the flows have increased?
Yeah, that's what, in the pilot project that we did before submitting the proposal even for the NAPCC,
Right.
It showed a very encouraging result, and that is the whole reason why we went ahead and did this project, because it has benefited the community, it has increased the water flow, the discharge, the seasonal, because especially during the dry seasons, there was a scarcity being faced by the people, because they are solely dependent on it for their livelihood, because since Meghalaya is an agrarian society, its economy is completely
Dependent on
70-80% is dependent on it. So it's very important that at least water scarcity doesn't become an issue, because then it impacts the economy, it impacts the livelihood, it impacts the people's day-to-day activities.
So in these 300 spring sheds, how many approximately springs would be there? Approximately 306 spring sheds, you said?
Yeah.
Yes.
So approximately, roughly, how many would be there?
6 to 7,000.
6 to 7,000.
Yes.